Are you ready for some smart, plain talk on politics, Israel, and the law? It's the Andrew Parker Show. Let's roll. Welcome to another episode of the Andrew Parker Show. Thank you for joining me, and I very much enjoy talking about politics, Israel, and the law, throwing some ideas out there. Having you respond, going to theandrewparkershow.com and subscribing, following us, sending us text messages to our text line. Let me put that up there for you, 952-522-2818. But I'm going to go off the board today, and I'm going to talk about something that with some of my close friends I talk about quite often, and that is the association, the National Basketball Association, the NBA. I grew up loving the NBA. I was one of the shortest kids in the school. So basketball, what kind of interest would I have in that? I was a pretty good hockey player way back then, not so much anymore. But I didn't like hockey so much. I was one of those Minnesota kids that played all the time and went to all the hockey schools and whatnot. Was pretty good at it. Actually, certainly much better at it than I was at basketball. But I really liked basketball for some reason. So I quit hockey and really focused on basketball. And ultimately, I wasn't a great player, but came off the bench for a varsity team that was quite good. And it was a fun time. And I followed the NBA closely back then. This would have been primarily in the 70s. Also followed it even when I was playing hockey in the 60s into the 70s. But certainly the 70s into the 80s, I played a lot of basketball. And so we're all watching this game today that has become so cinematic and Hollywoodish. It truly has. It has priced itself out of the market for folks who are working the 9-to-5 job every day and trying to make ends meet. The ticket prices are outrageous. But I think the big thing that has, I watch it occasionally, but it's just not the same. It really isn't. And it struck me the other day when there was a game involving the Minnesota Timberwolves, and frankly, I don't remember who the other team was. It doesn't much matter. And Rudy Gobert went up for a rebound, and as he did, he gave a forearm shiver to the center on the other team into the ribs, pushing him back. And then he gathered the rebound and got called for the foul. They went to the video monitor, to check if it was a flagrant. And sure enough, a flagrant foul. And I don't know, it might have been his second one or something. He got kicked out of the game. And I was thinking to myself, back in the day, that might not have even been called a foul, let alone a flagrant foul. You go into the lane against Bill Laimbeer, you aren't coming out unless you've been bloodied. And they played ball, and they played hard. And it wasn't this little touch foul stuff. Now, people say, they're playing hard today, and, I mean, these guys are such unbelievable athletes, and they're crying if a foul isn't called. And fouls are called for, touches. No. I remember back, and I just really enjoyed it. I didn't watch a lot of Piston games, but when the Pistons were just on top of the association, on top of the NBA, it was because they played hard-nosed ball. And now, there aren't any teams like that. They aren't even close. And you'll remember that the Pistons beat the Bulls early on when the Bulls were coming, when the Bulls were ascending. Couldn't get by the Pistons. Why? Because the Pistons brutalized them. The Jordan rules. You know the Jordan rules. So I just think that fouls need to be loosened up in the NBA. Now, I understand they don't have equipment like in the NFL, of course, but this isn't a game like the NFL either. They don't have equipment like in the NHL. But again, it's not a game like the NHL. In the NHL, checking is not only allowed, it's required out there. So, within some semblance of reason, I think that the NBA has locked it down too much because they want more scoring. They've gotten more scoring. Games are ridiculous, and they're frankly boring. The first three quarters are boring. Half the fourth is boring. The game is either over or, they're half trying out there. So that's just one man's opinion. Yeah, you can certainly disagree, as many, many people do. Again, writing into our text line here at the Andrew Parker Show. So I want to go over a few of the rule changes. Have you think about them as I'm off the board here, not talking politics, Israel, or the law today. Talking about the NBA and, frankly, my personal disappointments about the NBA. So, a few rule changes that occurred in the NBA. In the 1940s, it was really a different game in the NBA. I might have liked it better. There were fewer rules. Players were freer to move and shoot. And over the years, a series of rule changes were introduced ostensibly to improve the game and to make it, the excitement that it is today. Well, zone defense was banned in 1947 because zone defense slowed down the game so much. In 1951, the lane, as they call it, the area under the baskets stretched out, was 6 feet, and George Mikan so controlled the game. His physical dominance just bowled over everybody else. He'd stand under the basket, take one step, and dunk it as everyone was looking up at him. They decided to expand the area, doubling its size from 6 feet to 12 feet. And it basically helped defenses significantly in dealing with the Minneapolis Lakers right here in Minneapolis. Yeah, winning. That's all they did. Small note, I grew up next door to the great Vern Mickelson and his family. Still good friends. Not Vern, he's passed away, but his kids. And John Mickelson in particular. He and I used to play basketball outside. He was a tall, lanky guy. I was a short little stub. But boy, we had fun. We had one of those crank baskets where you get the crank out and you twist it, and it lowers the basket, from 10 feet down to 6 feet, and I could almost dunk at 6 feet. Those were good times. I will tell you. But 1954 was the introduction of the 24-second rule. Did you know that? I was a little surprised by that. I was doing a little research and came across it because that's before I was born, I'll tell you. And I thought the 24-second rule came into effect when I was alive. But no, it was before, 1954, and it was the Fort Wayne Pistons who unexpectedly defeated the Minneapolis Lakers. When was that? In 1950, 19-18, in what became known as the lowest scoring game in history in the NBA. And it was a huge upset. And the way they did it was to just hold the ball. So that got everybody talking. And in 1954, the 24-second rule was announced. You'll remember back, I remember vaguely, was it Pete Carrill? Was it Princeton? Yeah, where they, in college, they didn't have that rule then. And he did this. He held the ball, but he didn't so much hold it. He did the weave, but they wouldn't shoot. And he could then compete with, the University of North Carolina or the other powerhouses. And now, a word from our sponsors.
Are you a business owner? Are you losing sleep because you feel your partner isn't carrying their weight, or because you no longer share the same vision or values? Are you no longer comfortable going into your own office? Are you walking on eggshells in the company you built? This is Chris Daniels, founding partner of Parker Daniels Keyboard LLC, a premier litigation law firm headquartered in downtown Minneapolis. For more than 30 years, I've specialized in business litigation and have helped hundreds of business owners resolve troubling business disputes. As a former certified public accountant, I get to the heart of the dispute, including financial issues. Business divorce can be messy, time-consuming, and costly, but doing nothing can cost you a lot more. Not just money, but emotionally, physically, and in your personal life. If you and your business partner no longer see eye to eye, and you're eager to take a proactive approach and make a change, please call me at 612-355-4100 and schedule a consultation. Or visit our website at www.parkerdk.com.
Looking to reduce your tax liability and grow your portfolio? Consider Texas-based Texacoma Resources. They have been delivering results for over 40 years in energy investments. Investors may benefit with strategic advantages like depreciation, depletion, and drilling, but should consult their tax advisors for their specific situation. Call True North Investment at 612-968-3442 to learn more. That's True North Investment, 612-968-3442. Texacoma Energy that works for you. So I guess the 24-second rule makes some sense, to prevent the simple hold. The lane in 1964 expanded again, and that was to deal in large part with the dominance of Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, Wilt Chamberlain, he scored 100 points in a single game. Most people probably know that, but it's crazy. It was him and then the rest of the world. It's kind of like a little bit like Shaq, but there were tall centers when Shaq was playing, but nobody as enormous as Shaq, and he would really control. Hand checking was banned in 1979, and that goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Some of the best defenders were shut down shortly after the hand checking ban. And then the game changed, well, almost entirely with the introduction of the three-point line in the 1979-1980 season. And it created new superstars. It changed the way the game was defended. It changed the way the game was played. Adding that extra point onto the distance shooting changed the game entirely. And it has now become the run and gun league. Boy, it was even more so from, 1994 to 1997 during those years. That's, I think, when the Bulls were really ascending. And they didn't use the three-point line all that much, the Bulls, I don't believe. I mean, they did, for sure. I'm not suggesting that it didn't help them, but it wasn't like the Golden State Warriors with Steph Curry that we've seen in more recent years, where it was the entire team. And it wasn't just Steph Curry. It was Klay Thompson as well, certainly, and a few others. But the Bulls, they used it, but not the way it's being used today. And in fact, their overall three-point field goal percentage, I don't believe, was off the charts the way some other teams today it is. And the rule changes regarding the three-point line, they moved it closer from 94 to 97 to the 22-foot arc. And after 3 years of that, they moved it back to where it is today and to where it had been, which was further out, except in the corners, it's still 22 feet. But I didn't like the three-point rule when they put it in. I still don't like it. I'm a bit of a purist that way. If you want to get 3 points on a possession, you do it the old-fashioned way. You get fouled and you make the bucket. I just don't like the NBA run and gun approach. Maybe naive. People can disagree, as I said. Hand checking, again, there were some rule changes regarding hand checking over the next several years, allowing for a certain type of zone defense. Was in 2002, basically to deal with Shaquille O'Neal, which is why that came into effect. Modification of the flagrant foul rule. It can either be for unsportsmanlike or physical action, conduct by a player, the flagrant rule. It was basically about player safety. So all of these rule changes in the NBA have turned the game into what it is today and not what it was back with the Bad Boys. But that was a great game that was being played back in those days, and I just think these rule changes, for the most part, have stifled that game, and it's unfortunate. A lot of people love it. They love to see three-point shot go through the hoop, but after a while, what's the point? But I'm somebody who likes baseball, likes the strategy of baseball. I like the fundamentals of baseball as well. But, I love hockey and watching hockey, the physical nature of the game and the skill of the game. And they didn't have to have, if you have 3 or 4 passes and a goal, you get 2 points rather than 1. I mean, it's not always better to put rules in place in order to increase scoring. It's not always the case. Look at the popularity of what we call soccer. Not a lot of scoring that goes on in soccer usually. But boy, millions and millions around the world think it's the greatest game ever. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Those are my comments on the association, on the NBA. And if you disagree, and I'm sure many people out there that do, text us at 952-522-2818. And go to the andrewparkershow.com, up on the screen right now if you're watching on YouTube. theandrewparkershow.com, and you'll see our sometimes referred to as an award-winning website. It's excellent. It's outstanding. You can sign up. You can get it all right there. I'm going to be going to Israel soon, and I am going to broadcast live from the Jewish state of Israel, talk about current issues over there, some politics, as well as what's going on in the Muslim world. Until next time, be kind to your neighbor. For more Smart Plain Talk, go to theandrewparkershow.com. Learn about all of your listening and viewing options. And remember, all the great things are simple, and many can be expressed in a single word: freedom, justice, honor, duty, mercy, hope. This episode of The Andrew Parker Show is sponsored by Parker Daniels Keyboard and True North Private Investments. Mark Twain once quipped, "A lie can travel halfway around the world while the truth is still putting on its shoes. When you are lied about and it spreads, the resulting mayhem and destruction can be, and often is, disastrous." Hi, this is Andrew Parker, co-founder of the Parker Daniels Keyboard Law Firm. I recently handled a high-profile defamation lawsuit on behalf of a luxury home real estate agent whose business was decimated by falsehoods spread about him. After nearly 2 years of litigation and 2 weeks of trial, the jury came back with a verdict of more than $2 million for our client. Parker Daniels Keyboard. We litigate cases, we try cases, and we win cases. With a record of excellence in achieving extraordinary results, Parker Daniels Keyboard lawyers have consistently won huge verdicts for its clients in the areas of defamation, civil rights violations, regulatory battles, and intellectual property theft. For wise counsel and winning results, contact us at Parker Daniels Keyboard, premier law firm in downtown Minneapolis. Looking to reduce your tax liability and grow your portfolio? Consider Texas-based Texacoma Resources. They have been delivering results for over 40 years in energy investments. Investors may benefit with strategic advantages like depreciation, depletion, and drilling, but should consult their tax advisors for for their specific situation. Call True North Investment at 612-968-3442 to learn more. That's True North Investment, 612-968-3442. Texacoma Energy that works for you.